I want to welcome everybody to the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of the RSW Jail. It's 1 o'clock, January 24. Welcome everyone, and you want to introduce your guest today?
Sure. Grant Perdue, who's a senior in Rappahannock County High School, is somewhat interested in government, and so we've provided him an opportunity to take part in a few different governmental activities.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, the first item there is the adoption of the minutes from November 15.
So moved.
Motion? Second?
I was not there.
I'll second. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
List me in abstain.
Okay. Superintendent's report. Russ?
Average daily population breakdown, Rappahannock with 18 at 5.4%, Shenandoah County with 143 at 43%, Warren County 171 at 51.5%. Total member jurisdiction ADP was 332. We had 8 contract beds from Prince William County, 67 from Page County, and 42 from Culpeper County, bringing the total facility ADP to 426. We currently have 20 officer vacancies. I actually think that's down to 26 now from when we did this report. This does include the 8 positions for vacancy savings. We have 2 LPN vacancies and 1 nursing director vacancy.
Quick question, Russ. On the local ADP of 332, when you had 867 and 42, it gives you a number higher than 426.
Okay.
Is that an anomaly? Is that maybe old numbers, or is that?
I'm not sure. I didn't catch that.
332 and 8 is 340, and 67 is 407 plus 4, looks like 449.
It's not added when you, because the average is taken based on the number of days.
Okay, okay, that's perfect. So
I can show you.
I knew there was some anomaly there, that I'm not getting that, so.
And well, he's interjected, sent an email asking if we could plot out vacancies over time, so we could better understand where we are now versus past.
And we do have that. I apologize. I forgot to put it in there.
Okay.
In fact, I do have it though.
So just shoot it by email so we can get some perspective.
Sure. I can tell you it's pretty consistent, around 20 to 25 to 30, somewhere in that 20 to 30 vacancies is what we consistently pretty much ran since the beginning. Nothing for facility grounds and maintenance. Recruitment and retention, we have 2 applicants in background currently. MA programs and services, on January 10th, I attended the Rappahannock County Recreational Facilities Authority Board meeting to discuss the potential use of RSW workforce to do some maintenance at their park. It looks like we're going to move forward with that. I met with them this week, actually toured the park.
Big place, huh?
Yeah, it felt really big, especially since it was 7 degrees that morning walking around. But no, we're actually probably going to start working down there on Monday.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's going to be a long process. There's a lot of ground clearing and things like that, but looks like definitely something we're going to be able to help facilitate.
Glad to provide an outlet for the inmates.
I told them as spring keeps coming, comes on, we're getting a lot busier, so we're going to try to knock out as much of it we can during the inclement weather features. Let's see, on December 14th, we hosted the McShin Foundation.
That was good.
As kind of a kickoff for our substance abuse rehabilitation program that the McShin is facilitating. We did have some distinguished guests at the meeting. We had the Attorney General Mark Herring, Kate Obenshane, Delegate Todd Gilbert, as well as several of the board members from RSW attended, and general public. We probably had around 50 people here that day, so it was a good turnout.
That was a nice event.
Nice event. We currently have about 40, well, according to this, we have 44 females and 44 males and 23 females participating in that group. We're usually running right around that number. Sometimes it's been higher. Some people have came and left, but usually around 40 females 40 males and 20 females are participating in this program. So they're, so far, we're only about 30 days in, they've been very successful.
So is it a length of time and then new folks will
It
come
is,
in?
it
or-
is. They've kind of looked at like an 8 to 10 week, process, but it really depends upon, do they need to leave? Depends upon how many people we've got waiting. If we don't have to push somebody out, then I don't think we've got plans to do that. We can allow them to stay in that.
Is there any way to measure effectiveness?
I guess
Subjective sort of thing.
recidivism,
Right.
to see if they, reoffend. It's gonna be hard for us to track that if they reoffend in another jurisdiction. It would only be if they come back here. But, yeah, it's really gonna be difficult to try to figure out, how successful is it.
Right.
Does McShin do that? I mean, possibly
No,
they might, okay.
we would do that, yeah. I don't know if they have any requirements from their grant to do that or not. We haven't really discussed that, but
All right. Any questions on the statistics report for us? All right. On to financial stuff.
$414,000 was received from the compensation board in December for the November 2018 salaries and benefits reimbursement, of which $58,000 was for vacancy savings. Contract bed rental billing for November 2018 was just over $40,000 for Culpeper, just under $50,000 for Page, and $8,600 for Prince William. The total bed revenue year to date with the December billing, this number has changed because now I've done the December billing since I've done this report, is up to $675,528.08.
Say that one more time.
675,528.08.
So that's a half year number.
Yeah, that's with the December billing. December marks 50% of the year. Expenditures at that time were at 48.9% used, and revenue is at 56.6% realized. And that revenue does not include the December billing of.
Right.
Okay, the next item is the FY20 proposed budget.
I have a couple of notes to go over while you guys are reviewing what we have for the budget. On the revenue side, the compensation board funding that's included in the revenue in this budget includes the 2% increase that was approved last year, that the compensation board,
And when does that take effect?
July 1st of 2019.
Okay.
The 2% will take effect with the beginning of the FY20 budget. It does not include a proposed 1% bonus funding that the comp board has put out there, because that hasn't been approved yet. It's just proposed, so I didn't want to include it just in case it gets shut down.
right now, it's being proposed that would take effect in December.
Is that when it,
It's
that was?
December is when that, and I'm not sure how that 1% is going to work.
Right, it would just be a 1% bonus funding. I didn't quite understand.
Is
all the details.
is that tied to anything like the raises have been in the past?
Right.
That's,
See, in the past, you remember that, Brendan,
Yeah, I
where
know.
they worded it that you had to pass it along?
This one
And the year that Shenandoah County didn't give a raise, we couldn't get those funds
right.
for those constitutional officers that were on our pay scale, let's put it that way.
Right.
Both the 2% raise in the budget and this 1% bonus have that
Language,
language in it,
That they have to be passed along.
that they need to be passed along in order to get them, so far.
In the budget.
But the 1% is based upon the comp board salary, not the person's actual local
Right.
salary.
right, and so how do we build that into our pay scale?
Well, isn't it just revenue that it offsets our,
Well, that's the problem with it, is they tie that language to it saying, the only way you're gonna receive that is if you pass it on.
but if we give 1%, for example, it's gonna exceed their 1%,
Right.
which means it's in there.
But right now, it would be a total of 3, right?
Well, the 1% is a bonus. It's not
It's a one-time bonus.
it's a one-time bonus,
So
not
it doesn't
a,
affect VRS.
Right.
right.
Or next year.
Okay.
So it's a one-time bonus in December is what they're proposing.
I imagine there would be some, if you're supplementing the salary above what the comp board pays and they give you the equivalent of a and you want to pass that on, you will have to pass that on to get it. You might have to supplement that to cover the difference between what
They're
their,
1% and our 1%.
yeah, their 1%, your 1%, so there may be a little bit more cost.
Which means if we
Or
want,
you pass on the 1%.
Yeah,
You,
Right.
well,
If-
yeah.
If it's a bonus funding, you can pass on exactly what you get if you want to.
Exactly.
yeah.
in our case, all positions are comp board positions, so it gets really confusing with it now.
Right.
Well, and then the other question
Yeah.
that we've that you would ask is, well, if you give it in July, does that count?
The answer we got back before was no.
Right.
No.
If
So
you
you
gave it in July, you'd have to defer it till December.
So you don't
Yeah.
want to give it too early.
So if you received $356 for a position, we could pass on the 356.
I think that's the intent of what they're wanting.
They just want to make sure we're not going to swallow up with no increase.
But for those localities that have offices that are mixed,
Oh,
it creates problems.
It does.
Yeah, because any particular month, these 7 might be the comm board and these 3 may not be, and they get raised, the others don't.
So then you give everybody a raise, and then you just absorb the revenue, and it's a local cost.
When I read the memo from Rob and DeSocia, I didn't understand that was one of those that couldn't already be added in. I didn't know it had to be passed along. Yeah. Okay,
So that's what I have as notes for the revenue side. Excuse me. And then for the expenditures, for our insurance costs, we have not yet received what our rates are going to be for insurance, but we discussed it and we included a 15% increase on the insurance as a placeholder because we know we've had a lot of large claims this year and it, I'm sure, will go up. So that we could budget accordingly, we added 15% just
You
For
should
now.
be hearing in the next week or two. I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, they said around the end of January, beginning of February, we should hear, so, just so you guys know that was in there. And then we discussed this as well, in the, capital outlay for the budget, there's $95,000 included, which is for 2 transportation vehicle replacements.
Not
And-
replacements.
Sorry, new, I apologize,
Right, they're-
new.
they're
but
not.
you are gonna get rid of the other 2 though.
At some point, so we can keep, I currently have 2 transportation vans. I want to buy 2 more, so I have a total of 4.
And then you'll be replacing going
Right,
forward.
right, but right now, since we purchased everything all at once, at some point, we're gonna get hits at some point replacing several vehicles at the same time. I need 4 transportation vans that I don't have because we've got appointments for hospital, we've got courts, and there's times where we don't have the vehicles we really need to accommodate all the transports that we need to accomplish.
Okay, so these are 2 additional,
These are 2 additional vans,
and that'll give you a total of,
4 transportation vans.
Yeah.
I have 4 vans, but 2 vans that we have are dedicated for workforce to get those work crews to, the parks or wherever. And they're just basic vans. They do not have
Yeah,
the security
the
and
cages.
cages. We have basic cage, but it's not anything like what we need for the other transport vans. So we've utilized those to actually transport inmates. It's not optimal. That's not what we want to do. And then we're, we don't have a vehicle to get workforce out. So I really need these 2 vans to kind of get us where we need to be. And that we don't have, if we know we have a long transport, then I've got 2 newer vans that have less mileage. We can keep the higher mileage ones local and, kind of keep things rotating that way.
And then maybe get to a point where you've got like at least half a van in the budget, and so every 2 years you're buying one to rotate
Right.
out.
yeah,
Right.
that's good. And then 20,000 improvements other than buildings. it
Yes,
says.
that is for resealing and striping the parking lot,
Okay.
is what that is included for.
And I've got some basic estimates, and that's where I came up with that number, to kind of get us a ballpark where
Okay.
That was what I had as notes. If you guys have questions, please let me know.
On the uniform and wearing apparel. It jumped up in 19 and now it's doubling for 20.
a lot of our staff were hitting 5 years, and, we've got to start replacing the
Okay.
stuff. I'm actually looking at a different shirt. I'm not, it's gonna end up being about the same amount of money for our line staff, but it's a polo type shirt versus this shirt. But we're not buying, we'll be buying one less badge. There's some nameplates won't go on it, so there's some cost savings to it. But we're getting to that point where we've got to start replacing more and more people's stuff. And because of turnover, you know, a lot of the stuff, when we get it back, we can't reissue it. It's not serviceable to reissue, so there's that cost of having to buy new stuff every time we've got people coming on board, or sizing isn't correct.
So all the original stuff was bought at startup.
Yeah.
Right. So,
How, with the significant population increase, how is the food supplies only going up 23,000 on 355?
I'm only going by what, you know, my food service manager has proposed to me, you know. and
Whereas you see like, you know, water is.
Right. A lot of it, because when you buy larger quantities of food, you can get it at less pricing, so, you know, that's that. where we're-
Let's see where you are.
A lot of these, the top of the second page, the food supplies. A lot of these increases are owing to the increase in population, which is set off by contract bed rental.
Right.
They're trying to draw some parallels with that revenue to some of these increases.
Sure.
And it looks like he's right at 51% for the end of December
Right.
for food.
Right. So it'd be,
And more than likely, we're not gonna be able to take additional inmates from what we already have.
right.
Unless I hire some, you know, several more staff, so probably for this year, I'd say we're really close to what we've been spending.
Not if they could be. But when we budgeted 19, we didn't anticipate having 460 people here.
All right. All right.
On travel, food, and lodging, again, that one's more than double. Planning a trip. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, as, you know, our food service manager, he's, you know, he can't receive training from our academy, so I've got to send them
Yeah.
to places. Our medical staff, you know, which we haven't traditionally been sending them out for training, and we really need to, because they have certain CEUs that they have to keep up with. So I'm trying to make sure that we're, you know, providing that training to all our staff and not just our correctional officer staff. You know, Stephanie, as the finance manager, there's training opportunities for her. You know, a lot of times, they're not local, they're Roanoke, they're Richmond, they're overnight, you know, so I'm
Right.
trying to make sure that we're providing that training to all of our staff and not just correctional staff.
All right. I talked to her a little bit about advertising. I mean, is there just maybe a way that we can not advertise every week or somehow get that cost down? I told her we're required as localities to hold public hearings for ordinances and so
Right.
forth, and
The-
that's way more than our budget, I think.
You know, for us, you know, we're advertising in a lot of different papers. You know, we're advertising in Page, there's the Page Courier, you know, Winchester Star, North Virginia Daily. You know, we're trying to broaden that scope of people trying to hit, and then we're also using online service through ZipRecruiter, which is costly. And when we, you know, do receive applications, we're asking people, and it's all over the map. Well, I saw it in the Page Courier.
Okay.
I'm seeing it in ZipRecruiter. So it's not like I can go, well, that one's not working for us, I need to cancel that one. So, yeah,
This is where some of that trend information would be helpful to know. If we make an investment, can we see, you know, results from that investment? You know,
yeah.
So that's huge.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But it's all in an effort to try to fill these positions.
Right.
Whether it be nursing or correctional staff or, you know, whatever, and, you know, it's, the market is, there's a lot of jobs out there. You know, we had a meeting yesterday with Cisco, and they're wanting to, you know, hire inmates, you know, from work release, and it's because they can't get people from the general public. And it's not just them, it's this whole area, so we're competing not just on government jobs, but against the whole public sector, you know, because there's just a lot of jobs out there right now. So, you know, I'd be happy to cut it back, and we won't, you know, we'll use some of these services, but I definitely don't want to give up the online,
Well,
because I think that's definitely been.
I'm not saying don't use it, but, maybe just cut it back to maybe every
Okay.
other week or something, and
Okay.
the daily or whichever one, I don't know.
Okay. I think a lot of what we're doing is it's usually on the weekends, and the weekends are more expensive. But we're hoping that we're gonna, get more
That might
return
be
on
something
that.
else to look at too then, maybe,
Yeah,
is maybe a Saturday one week and
Sure.
a Wednesday another, or,
So you're saying, Mary Beth, maybe cut it back to like 15,000, increase it by
Mhm.
50%,
Yeah.
but just try to,
Yeah,
take a little smaller
Mhm.
cut at it.
yeah.
okay.
But we know that our efforts in 18 and 19 haven't netted the results that we want. So, suggesting increase is necessary.
Well,
Or
I would say, and I don't know if it was because of that or not. I mean, I can tell you when I took over, I had 42 officer vacancies.
And that's huge.
And we got it down to,
20.
no,
No, it
below,
was low, yeah, it was
about
low.
15, I think is where the lowest we've been. And then I had a spike of several people getting hired over this last year, most of them being hired by the sheriff's offices, either Warren County or Shenandoah, and I lose 4 or 5, and it's, so and we're slowly but surely, then we hit the holidays and nobody's moving jobs in, we got 0
As
applications.
the
for
market
holidays.
gets tighter and tighter.
I'm starting to see applications come back in now in January, but, so I'm hoping we're gonna get those numbers back down to hopefully around that 15, 18 again. But
And then on the repairs and maintenance, I know that cost went up. Is there anything in there that, it was just a unfortunate repair that you had to have, or do you see this
it's
as a new trend?
It's a new trend. The stuff,
Okay.
especially with the vacuum waste system, I mean, those parts are very expensive.
Okay.
They're very expensive. And it's not that my staff can't fix them, because they are. It's just the parts are expensive. A lot of the head-end equipment, the pumps and things like that are starting to go bad. My staff can't do that because of the downtime it takes to actually take it down. They don't have the ability to do that and do their other jobs too, so I have to call contractors in to do that. So I think this is the new trend on the maintenance side.
Okay. Those were just some of them that I saw, and I know you all just received the detail. I just happened to notice that I didn't have it, so I asked when you go to the,
Sure.
just before the meeting.
I'd just say, quite frankly, I would have expected to increase more than that, given the population increase, so. Feel like you must have squeezed it pretty hard.
I squeezed it pretty hard last year, and I'm really trying to keep the costs down, and I'm hoping it's gonna be really better at the end of the year. I'm hoping our revenue is gonna be higher than what I proposed, but I don't wanna count my chickens before they hatch. And if something does happen, I don't wanna have to come back to you all and go, I need $200,000, because we're out of money.
Right, because at this point, after next month, we'll be at what we've budgeted for contract bed rental next year. But
Yeah.
if it goes away,
that
you don't
goes to
want
the
to
comment
over
that I
budget
made.
the revenue
Mhm.
there.
Earlier is, how is that best handled? To cautiously budget for contract bed rental and then manage any increased revenue at the end of the year, like we're going to do later in this meeting? Or do we recognize that revenue but assign it to a non-operational need that isn't going to be a problem if it isn't realized, like capital, which we may end up doing with part of the end of the year money? So, I don't know what's the best way to do that, but
I can tell you on the bed rental side, my fear is that people aren't gonna need the bed space. That's not the fear. It's, are we always going to have the staff to be able to do that? Because it does go in highs and lows. But right now, it doesn't look like Culpeper or Page County, they're not going away anytime soon. Culpeper has, from what I've been told, no plans on building anything. They like their arrangement that they have here. Page has the intentions, from, at least on the sheriff's office side, they want to build a new jail. But that's a long process, so I just,
I like the idea of ramping it up, the way we had the $750,000, but then still hedging our bets and being a little cautious and figuring out at the end of the year, we got some extra money, what we want to do with it. But,
Sure.
yeah, I think you've
Yeah.
turned it up quite a bit, and I'd like to see it run for a couple of years to see where we're averaging.
right.
Like you said, look at the numbers with Prince William. Prince William was up pretty good and had dropped down to less than 10.
Right.
So.
They're a little different situation than Culpeper and Page. Their addition's gonna be done Thinking about a year and a half. It is behind schedule, but, you know, they could be, you know, that's 7 people, but trust me, if they leave, Culpeper Page is gonna take those beds. They want them now. So,
Y'all have any other questions on the budget? You wanna just bring it back next month and we'll make a recommendation in the full forward?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and now on to the true up, Stephanie. Oh, you're also on who's trying to get.
And I was gonna find it. Where, okay, we got. Thank you, ma'am. I got so many papers here, it's not funny. So after the true-up was conducted with the averages for FY18, the new percentages that we're gonna use for budgeting FY20 is Rappahannock at 5.26%, Shenandoah at 40.25%, and Warren at 54.49%. Excuse me. Based on the FY18 audit that was conducted with the change in net position and the depreciation expense, the discussion related to return to localities at the end of the year is $1,321,809. Due to the discussions that we've had before and the CIP budget that was created, I know you guys have talked about putting somewhere around either 50% of the return at the end of the year or around $500,000. In this, I calculated 50% of what that return would be, which would be putting $660,905 away in the capital reserve. The budget, or not the budget, I'm sorry, the balance of the capital reserve right now is $408,000. So this would put that balance just over $1 million. Excuse me. And then if that much was put into the capital reserve, the amount to be returned to the localities would be $660,904. Split up using those percentages that were found to be the actual for FY18.
And the number there on the far left is what we are currently paying per quarter, am I reading that right? Budgeted quarterly payment?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is what the fourth quarter budgeted payment would be.
And then the fourth quarter is based on using the 50%.
Yes, yes, all the calculations for that estimated fourth quarter payment are if we were to use the 50%. Which, if that's not what you guys want to do, we
Yeah.
can change that easily.
Y'all have any thoughts on that?
I'd say generally that, you know, I have an interest to make sure we're covering our bases on the capital side long term, but this has a much more drastic impact on to your budgets than Rappahannock, so, you know, I'll certainly let you guys drive that discussion.
I'm okay with the 50%.
And I think we need to recommend that to the full authority
Okay.
board. But what were we, 20% last year? Is that what we did?
Yeah.
Obviously,
The past
Past
2
two.
years was 20%.
that was a shot in the dark until we
Right.
had our kind of draft CIP to look at. Even at 50%, you know, we're not, if you look at those, the numbers through 2034, we got some big ticket items at the end, but you know what, we got quite a few years to be able to deal with that. But again, I like the idea of the minimum of putting probably 50%. That makes sense. And that way the localities will benefit with the savings, and we're putting a substantial amount away. And at least for the next 10 years, we should be able to meet our capital needs, I would think.
What would that bring us to, Stephanie, do you know?
What would that bring the capital reserve to?
Is that on here? Am I
Just
looking
over
at
a
it?
It's not yet. It would be $1,060,000
Okay.
approximately.
Okay. So we'll just make that in the form of a recommendation to the full authority. Want to do that today and bring it to the next meeting?
Let's go ahead and knock it out, because
Okay.
when do your fourth quarter payments? They go out typically early March before our full
March
authority
is when
meeting.
the invoices will be sent.
Okay.
We really ought to do it this meeting if we
Yeah,
can.
so just going back an agenda item on the proposed budget, you're recognizing $750,000 of revenue from contract bed rental, which is a big portion of why we have $1 million, right, here. And so that won't be there next year, right? Because it's being spoken for our
Right.
Now,
purposes.
and the other big part is the vacancy savings, so it
Okay.
would be a combination of those two things, right?
So I'm trying to look forward as, what are these numbers, trying to guess at what are these numbers going to look like into next year?
Right.
And
You may change.
I
the
would guess we
percentage.
won't have as many kicks of the can at numbers like this.
And again, we're hoping that our revenue is gonna be higher than what I budgeted.
That's
So
true.
there is gonna be
Yeah, some
hopefully
difference.
additional revenue that's gonna go towards that. You know, if I can get our staff numbers to where I can open those other two units and I can get those beds filled, then, you know, I mean, it's a lot of hopes and it's a lot of, you know, this and that, but,
I just want to recognize. that.
sure.
And the full authority received the proposed budget, right?
That's
They
on-
also have?
Yes, that's on the agenda
It's
for
on the
the,
agenda for a
Okay.
presentation for that
Okay.
as well.
It's always it's a little confusing for me, but you know, you have your actuals, you know, your actual percentages paid into FY18, and then you do your true up based on the end of the year, the savings, but you use the new true ups percentages, so they're winners and losers.
Well, and I had that on on my questions for Stephanie. I think I sent you an email after we received this. On the FY18 true-up percentages, I thought it should have been the lower number for, I'm not saying this right, on the refund. I
Right.
thought it should be
so,
the lower number. I mean, I know I'm hurting
Yeah,
myself,
but that's what you paid, is that what you should get a piece back? That's the,
and I thought it was the other number, but that's not what.
this is how it's traditionally been done, because these are the percentages of what should have actually been paid in FY18.
So-
You know what I mean?
so we had been using
FY18
the
was
other numbers.
budgeted using
Right.
FY16's numbers.
Okay.
So that's why it's returned on this, is because this is the actual percentage
Of use.
of use in FY18.
Okay. Does that make sense, Doug?
partly.
Yeah.
And I know, and then even, so even like this year's budget is based on numbers we had before, so that's when we'll do the true up on this year, right? So you're always almost a year behind.
Right.
Now I remember trying to get my mind wrapped around this year. I think I could.
Is there?
Obviously, I still don't.
I was trying to think, and who helped, was it was Davenport helped us with that before, right?
The formula, yes. That was probably January, probably maybe 2-3 years ago, I think.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, any more questions on that? Do we want to make that in a form of a motion to recommend to the full authority the 50%?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a motion.
I'll take that. I'll second.
All right, I have a second. All in favor, say aye. All right.
And Steph, just send me this one sheet just by itself, and I do want to run it past them. We can do the 50% today. I just want to make sure I was running my data before, just have a look at it.
Okay.
Make sure we're correct the way we're all interpreting it. I'm sure we are. It's hard when we started this in, 15 when the first year's physical stuff.
We'll probably have to send them the language from the,
The agreement gets
Services.
into per diem and all that.
Yeah, I think they have that. They've got the
Okay.
agreement. Yep, you need it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that was the one that I had questions, because if I look at the budget at 18, I see 34.29 for Shenandoah, and then the number with the true up is 40.25. And see, that's where I was struggling. I was saying, well,
So
the
this
the
was-
refund should be based on the 34.29 and not the 40.25. I know, that's what I said.
That's what I was going to float it out to them, let them
Okay.
verify
All
that.
right. Makes sense to me.
There was
I'm just,
a year ago, we had the town of Front Royal back in January of 18 had written a letter, Russ, they calculated the volume of water and sewer. They did their true up. Have y'all received anything yet from them?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually on the authority agenda.
Oh, it is? Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I missed that.
That's
Okay.
all right. Any more on that? Okay. Number 7, Board of Corrections certification to hold adjudicated juvenile.
it's kind of it's more of a discussion item to kind of see where the authority would like, what direction they'd like them to go. Back in December, there was an arrest made in Shenandoah County of a juvenile who had previously been incarcerated and was adjudicated as an adult. So under a prior incarceration, you have a juvenile that was arrested, was adjudicated as an adult under that previous court case. They were released, they were rearrested. Under the Code of Virginia, once you are adjudicated as an adult, you're always an adult. So Shenandoah County made the arrest. The charges were out of Rockingham County. They brought the arrest here. We're not certified to hold juveniles. Even if they're adjudicated as adult, we're still not certified
Why are they brought here?
because the arrest was made in Shenandoah County. So you always bring your arrest to your local jurisdiction, doesn't matter what county they're from. Then we contact them, they can't. But we can't take them. We're not certified to hold juveniles. And that's governed partly by Board of Corrections and partly by DCGS and their juvenile services portion of DCGS. So we couldn't take them. So we tried to, assist the deputy from Shenandoah County by going, hey, let's talk to the magistrate, see if they can get a bond, whatever. Didn't really want to do that at first. Steve handled all that. Of course, it's on a Friday night, and
Perfect.
it's never, during the daytime. It's always in the evening. But anyways, so it was decided, hey, you're gonna have to take them to Rockingham County. So the deputy took them to Rockingham County. Rockingham County Jail is not certified to hold juveniles either. So then you've got this deputy who's stuck in the middle going, what do I do? Fortunately, Steve was able to contact the chief magistrate, speak with her. They ended up working out where they were able to give this juvenile a bond. But the reason I'm bringing this up is there are times where this could potentially happen, and this is really more of, I guess, a lot of discussion from the sheriff's side is their feelings, because there are adult facilities in Virginia that are certified to hold juveniles. My question is, do they want us to become that? And there are some pluses. The plus for them is they're not running into that mess of where do I take this person. The negative for us on our side is that there has to be sight sound separation as a minimum. There are some other standards that DOC would require. And there's just a lot to holding juveniles. Even if they're adjudicated as adult, they're still juvenile. They have to be separated from adults. There's just a whole lot that goes with it.
And they couldn't take this individual to the juvenile detention?
No, because they're adjudicated as adult. Once you're adjudicated as adult, you can't stay in a juvenile detention center.
The magistrate said she could not commit someone who's adjudicated as an adult to a juvenile facility. So this individual was like in no man's land.
So with numbers, could you put someone like that in holding, or?
No, I can't bring them to the building.
I mean, if you were certified.
If I was
As far
certified,
as
yes,
sight, sound separation.
yes, if we were certified through the Board of Corrections to hold juveniles, I could house them there, I could hold them there.
But I mean, as far as keeping that separation, how does that work relative to,
The-
we're pretty
the-
full in the end.
Well,
so-
this is another negative. We have the ability, because we have 3 housing units, or they're really quote unquote cell blocks that were designed for administrative segregation. Each one of those can hold 9 people. Administrative segregation can be from anything from protective custody to disciplinary isolation to, medical, depending upon what it is. So we could, if we had someone like that, we could hold them in that type of environment, which is not optimal because they're not going to have any other interaction with another person other than the officer checking on them 2 times an hour, which can be detrimental to someone's mental health. So there's a lot of reasons potentially not to do it, but then there is some other legislation out there right now, proposed legislation that could drive this bus a little bit more. Brennan, I don't know if you want to talk to that or if you want me to talk to that.
I can. There's a bill that would, right now, the current law is that in order for this facility or any facility to be able to house juveniles, you have to be certified by the Department of Corrections. This bill would change that to say that, remove the requirement that you be certified by the Department of Corrections and just require that it be in conformance otherwise with state law or federal law. And the federal law is the Juvenile Delinquency Prevention Act, which has the requirement for separation of sight and sound. So that would arguably make it easier for more jails to qualify to hold juveniles who were charged as adults and ordered by a judge to be in the facility.
I think some of this is an assumption, but a lot of what's driving this is not so much in this locality, but in some of the other localities, they're getting these juveniles who are much more violent, and the juvenile detention centers really aren't equipped. They're not jails. Their staff are not correctional officers, they're counselors, so they don't have the ability necessarily to deal with that. So I think that's where some of this push is coming from, is from that juvenile side.
So should we kick this to our, say, March meeting? We'll know what the General Assembly does with this bill. If they don't change it, then we could go ahead and process, or do you want to go ahead right now and try to get
Well,
DOC to do it?
I've asked DOC, hey, give me the information, what are the standards for us to become a certified facility? I haven't gotten that yet, hopefully soon. Again, I wanted this to be a talking point at this meeting, so people can be, the board can be thinking about it and kind of get a feedback from the sheriffs, or they may come in here at the full board meeting and go, nah, we don't really need for you to do it.
Is this the first time it's ever happened since we've been open?
Well, we had, what was that, about a year and a half, 2 years
Probably
ago?
about 2 years ago.
There was, and I don't remember the case, there was a juvenile that was, I think the plan was to adjudicate them as an adult, and I don't remember the specifics of it. And at that point, we were unaware that DCGS had to approve you, because we were gonna take them if they were gonna be adjudicated, because it's fairly new law that came into place. So our plan was to take them, but we would have been in violation had we done that.
When we had the meeting, the fellow we met with, he said that effective July 1st, 2018, we were no longer able to hold them unless we were certified. So prior to that, I think we were probably okay.
Okay.
But as of 2018, he said we could not, July 1st.
I just one question. If we were to become certified, must we accept? Can we still close the door? If, there's some locality around us searching for a place to
No.
dump their youth that we,
I would only do this
for R3.
for R3 participating jurisdictions.
To avoid the situation, kind of like you had before, where we put them.
Right.
So
It's the
that,
middle
that
of the
gives me
night,
a
we're
lot
trying to find a
more
way.
comfort, but I would still leave it to the sheriff.
Right now, there's,
Jerry, with the caveat that if the judge orders,
Yeah,
we can do what the judge.
that's right.
and with this new law where it's saying, oh, you don't have to be certified through Department of Corrections, but you have to follow all the state and federal laws. Well, who's going to determine that?
Right, you might as well be certified.
I'd rather be certified. I'd rather have them come audit me. I'd rather have them come inspect me so they can say, yes, you were compliant, so I don't have every, mother, father, attorney coming out of Pike making these allegations, and I have nothing to go, yes, I am doing it. At least if I'm being audited for it and we're following those standards, I've got something to kind of hang our hat on. But, it's a difficult situation, but yes, I would not want to start accepting from other jurisdictions to hold juveniles. This is really just an effort to provide relief for our local member jurisdictions, that if they make an arrest like that they don't have to drive 3 or 4 hours to a facility that may or may not take them. There's about, I've got the list, I think there's 13 facilities across Virginia that are certified to hold juveniles. The closest one to us is Middle River. The next is Prince William. But again, they're under no obligation to take them. Just because they're certified, they may do the same thing as what we're talking about. No, we only hold our local people. The next are 2 or 3 hours away. So then what do you do?
I can't imagine our sheriffs not wanting to have that flexibility. Again, otherwise you're sending your deputies on wild goose chase in the middle of the night, maybe around located facilities.
Right. So is it any liability strings attached to this with youth that's not an adult but is an adult?
And we may not be able to attain the certification. DOC may come in here and go, no, you don't have the ability to house them appropriately. I don't know. I don't know.
Liability shouldn't be much as long as you don't accidentally mix them with adults. But, there's jail business is fraught with liability.
Yeah, maybe a moot point if that House bill passed.
Yeah, if the House bill doesn't pass, then the only way to get the ability to do it is to get certified. And if it does pass, then you've got more flexibility there. So a lot depends on what happens at the General Assembly.
And if we did have a person that was adjudicated as, or that was a juvenile adjudicated as adult, and they did come here, and they were going to be here for a long period of time, I would probably be trying to find another facility that has the same, so I can at least pair them up with somebody else, because it's not a healthy environment to keep somebody segregated by themselves. So, I want to make that clear too. I would be looking for an alternative to get them housed with in a facility that maybe has multiple juveniles, because it would be
Really,
better.
we give you the flexibility to deal with those
Sure.
situations.
And of course, we would probably have to pay rent to do that, but, you know,
Or
again,
do a swap.
Right.
Take one of their.
take an adult
inmates.
for the,
Yeah.
right, you know, do a swap, there's other things to do. And I don't think we have a large juvenile population at the JDC. Do you still sell them?
Yeah, no, it's down.
Right, so, you know, I don't think this is gonna
Like,
happen.
Last, I heard it was around 13 or something like that.
I don't think this is gonna be this is gonna be maybe one every couple year kind of thing, probably, I'm hoping. So,
Okay. All right, item number 8, support letter for Virginia Senate Bill 1040. And I didn't see anything in our packet on that.
again,
There is a bill that was introduced this year, the Senate bill that would change the reimbursements for out of compliance, which is $12 a day. So after an inmate sentenced to a year or more in DOC system, they're supposed to take him up, and if they don't, he's out of compliance, and they pay the jail $12 a day. The bill would amend that, when it was, the introduced bill would have amended that to say rather than $12 a day, which was what is included in the Annual Appropriations Act of the General Assembly budget, that they pay for the actual costs as provided for in the Compensation Board's annual report. So it would be an increase to the revenue we get for out of compliance. The bill has been amended and passed out of the Senate so that it now has a provision that the act does not become effective unless an appropriation, actually appropriating the increased money in the budget, takes place. So we're sort of back where we started, which is that the General Assembly through the Appropriation Act has to change that amount. So
I guess it is a step in the right direction, it just doesn't back it up the money.
yeah, and they've issued Department of Planning and Budget has issued a fiscal impact statement that says, depending on how you use the numbers in the Compensation Board's annual report, it could be somewhere upwards of $90 million impact or $2 million. So I don't know what will happen in the House, but right now, if nothing changes in the bill itself or in the budget, you'll still get only $12 a day. So it would be something that you initially could have supported, but as amended, you'd have to also sort of support, find a way to get the money to get in the budget for that. So I just point that out, that it's been changed a little bit since its introduction.
And so it indicates a support letter. Does that come from us? Is that what you're saying?
Is it worth it?
Or, no?
Before, I've signed stuff as the
Okay.
chair and
Okay.
sent the letter down.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Mary has, I've asked her to draft a letter. Do you have
I
a
have
copy
it,
of that? If
yeah.
you want to look at it and if you agree
I have
to
3
it.
copies if you just want to take one and get it. Could I make one?
I don't think it hurts, like I said,
Yeah.
it may not,
Mhm.
it may not accomplish much financially.
Right.
As far as how much, if it were to ever come in,
Mhm.
we're usually about 35 inmates that are considered out of compliance a month, so.
I just in addition, let's copy our local delegation, but I don't see a problem in sending the
Yep.
letter. So if we want to, we can recommend that to the Port Authority Board.
Okay.
And we can move it over to the board's letterhead
Yeah,
and then,
Okay.
get a signature on it.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to recommend that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other outstanding issues? I just want to thank Russ for providing a report to our board Tuesday. And I passed on the presentations. Thank you. Appreciate
If
that.
there's any other questions, want to say review it in detail.
It was good information. You all got anything? All right. Our meeting schedule is there, February, March, and April. If there's nothing further, we are adjourned.
So that'll be your last meeting there, March?
March 28th. Yeah.